to the December Texas Commission on Law Enforcement Commission meeting. I'd like to welcome everyone who is here in person, and for those of you who are joining us online. I am going to make quick introductions first to our very gracious hosts. We have the University of Texas at San Antonio Chief and Assistant Chief here with us today. That's Stephanie Schonborn and Angel Lamons. And we also want to do a shout out to Sergeant Eric Weber. They have been incredible hosts. We appreciate you working with the TCOLE staff and for hosting us at your beautiful campus and for all of the work that you've done. And I know that you both have to attend a meeting off-site here in just a few minutes, but I wanted to make sure that we thanked you for your hospitality and your graciousness. We very, very much appreciate UTSA hosting us, UTSA PD hosting us, and we've enjoyed our time in beautiful San Antonio, so thank you so very much. And now I'd like to ask everyone to please stand as we have the presentation of colors by the UTSA Police Department Honor Guard. It will be followed by the pledge given by Patricia Burris, and then we have our invocation from UTSA Chaplain Lieutenant Sean Smith.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Forward, on, live, 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 detail, hold, and post. Ready? Face. Present. On. Order. On. Ready? Face. Forward. On. Live. 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 Live.
Lieutenant?
Thank you. If you would join me in bow and prayer. Lord, we thank you for this day, for this meeting to be able to be held here in San Antonio. And I just lift up a blessing over all those here in attendance today. I pray that you would give wisdom and guidance to those who are here to make decisions, the challenges that they face, the obstacles, Lord. I pray that you would help them through that. I also lift up those who will be traveling today. I pray for protection over them. And we thank you for these things. In the mighty name of Jesus, I pray.
And you may be seated. And Chief, what a fantastic job your honor guard did. That was Captain Thomas Colucci, Corporal Armando Gonzalez, Officer Santiago Valdovinos, and Officer Mark Smith. So let's give them a round of applause. They did a fantastic job. And Lieutenant Smith, thank you so very much for the invocation. We appreciate you also. At this time, we'll move to agenda item number 2. And Sarah, would you please do roll call for us?
Commissioner Kim Lameau,
Here.
Commissioner Jason Hester, Commissioner Patricia Burris,
Present.
Commissioner Ron Hood,
Here.
Commissioner Jana Adkins,
Here.
Commissioner Michael Griffiths,
Here.
Commissioner Mario Lascano,
Present.
Commissioner Martina Lamont Dixon.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Well, thank you again, and Stephanie, if you'll thank Sergeant Weber for us, we appreciate it very, very much. As we talked about yesterday in the workshop, there's a lot of extra work around holding public meetings, but when we hold a public meeting away from Austin, it's a lot of extra work on staff. We appreciate those around the state who host us. As many of you know, the commissioners have made a commitment to engage with our constituents from around the great state of Texas. And this meeting here in San Antonio is an example of that. So we appreciate, Stephanie, again, appreciate your assistance, and I want to also thank the staff, because I know this is a lot of extra work on you to take the meetings on the road. So thank you very much for the extra work and for the great job that you've done. This is also the first time that we have hosted a hybrid meeting where we have some commissioners in person and some commissioners online. So we will work through any technical difficulties, so please be patient with us as we get into our rhythm today. I wanted to also make note of the day, December 7th, and recognize those who served and gave their lives at Pearl Harbor 82 years ago, December 7th, 1941. So if we could have just a moment of silence, please, in honor of these men and women. Thank you. We are going to go ahead and move forward with the meeting. We are going to move to agenda item number 4, which is approval of the minutes of the October 23rd commission meeting. Do we have a motion?
I have a motion to approve the minutes with an amendment. Ready? On page 3, this is purely typographical. Page 3, the first, or actually the second paragraph that begins with Major Vineyard announced the hiring of. On the second line, we're missing the word be, who will be helping with the tracking. And just typographical error. And other than that, with that modification, I move to approve and adopt the commission meetings from October 23rd, 2023.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Because we have a hybrid meeting, we will be doing roll call votes. So
Madam Chair, if I may,
yes, sir.
before calling the names, just a reminder, all the commissioners that are appearing remotely, in order to be able to discuss or vote during any portion of the meeting. If you're appearing by video conference, you have to be, your voice will need to be audible and your face visible to those in attendance, just as a reminder. Thank you.
Commissioner Martina Lamont Dixon,
Present.
Commissioner Mario Lascano,
Aye.
Commissioner Michael Griffiths,
Aye.
Commissioner Janet Adkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Ron Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Patricia Burris,
Yay.
Commissioner Jason Hester, Commissioner Kim Lamo.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
Okay. We will move to agenda item number 5. And we have some news that I think everyone has been anxiously awaiting. And that is the announcement of TCOLE's new executive director. However, before we make that announcement, John Beecham, we owe you a debt of gratitude that words just can't fully express. You have done an amazing and commendable job as the interim executive director of TCOLE. You know, when any of us are put in this position, we have two roads that we can travel. You either keep the unit or the agency status quo, or you move the agency forward. And you and your team have undoubtedly moved this agency forward and accomplished so much in your time as the interim executive director. Your leadership has been exceptional. The teamwork displayed by all of the staff has just been absolutely amazing, and we deeply, deeply appreciate it. We're going to have more words for you at the February meeting. So we're going to get to recognize you. At least a couple of times here for the great work that you've done, and you have a little bit more time before our new executive director takes the helm. But just have to thank you for an incredible job, and for my gosh, you got us through, second sunset review and the legislative session, and we'll talk about the advisory committees, but they're up and running. The relationships that have been built with all of the different constituency groups. You've set a great foundation for our new executive director, and very, very much appreciate your work. Not to leave everyone in any more suspense, our new executive director has joined us here today, and I'm going to ask him to come up and say a few words at the podium. But may I introduce to you Chief Greg Stevens, who has honorably served the citizens in Lubbock and Rockport for many, many years. And sir, we feel very, very blessed that you were interested in this position, and by a unanimous vote yesterday, we have selected you as the new executive director of TCOLE. So congratulations.
Thank you. I'll first will say I've got just a little anxiety of following in behind an interim director, as John has done, and I've watched that closely. I want to say how humbled I am by the selection. I truly am. I grew up wanting really nothing more than to be a police officer. That was my life's goal, and I became I became a military police officer. But then in 1992, I got into a Lubbock police car, and goal accomplished. So truly, everything since then has been icing on the cake, and I'm just humbled, and as today I sit here and I just take all of this in, and I'm blessed. I can't say enough how much I appreciate the support from colleagues across the state, from people that encouraged me to put in for this position, that thought I might do well at it, things like that. From family, and I want to acknowledge my wife, Randy, is here today. I truly say I'm where I'm at today in no small part because of her and because of our kids. The sacrifices that they've made throughout. Again, I didn't go to college till my 30s, and then again later in my 40s, and so a lot of sacrifice there. I'm here, and this comes in no small part again because of her and because of our kids and their sacrifices. I've watched carefully over the last year or more as all of this process has unfolded, all the progress that the organization has made. I'm excited about being a part of it. I really am, about coming on board with this staff. I look forward to the future. I look forward to everything that TCOLE's accomplished. I think that Texas should be the leader in law enforcement across the nation. I think that other states should look to us for how law enforcement should be done when it comes to standards, when it comes to training, and I think that's entirely possible. And I'm so glad, and I'm humbled to be a part of it, and I appreciate the commission's support. I'm looking forward to working with everyone on staff. Thank you very much.
Well, congratulations, and I think I could speak for all of us that we're excited also about the future of TCOLE, and we're also very much looking forward to getting to know you and your family more in the coming months and years. So thank you very much again for your interest and for accepting the position. So from that, I'm going to turn it over to John and ask you to go through the reports.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Chief Stevens, welcome aboard. We're excited about the future and looking forward to being the team led by you. Thank you very much. Madam Chair, I don't have anything to report other than I'd like to reserve a little time at the end of the other directors' reports to introduce some of the new legal staff. But then I'll turn it over to the directors and let them take it from here.
Good morning, Commissioners. In your packet, you have some updates on projects coming through education services. For the regulated community, probably the most pressing is that the new basic peace officer course, the 1736 course, has been completely updated based on public comment and review and revision based on the public comment. That curriculum has to be implemented on any basic peace officer course started on January 1 or after. So implementation on that is imminent. Due to the updates to the BPOC, we also updated the supplemental course, commonly known as the 1018 course. So providers of that course will need to realign that course with the new BPOC material. Do have a change from what's in your packet. The 3188 legislative update course is actually live now on my TCOLE. That's the mandated legislative update course that all peace officers have to have in this training unit, so that is currently available. We want to thank our partners at Department of Public Safety. They actually built that course as an internal product to train their people. shared it with the rest of the state by allowing us to put it on my TCOLE. And so we're eager to work with them on doing that. Your packet has the credentialing information in terms of calls. We're still operating at or about a 3% call abandonment rate with calls coming in, and still processing the emails. There's nothing startling about the number of L1s and L1Ts are out of state. We're not seeing new trends, so that tends to be normal. Provided for you the current training mandates. Those are available for the regulated community. For the training mandates of this unit, the most pressing for most people is the 16 hours of alert training that is required under Senate Bill 1852. And so we're working with Alert, especially one of the groups that we're working with Alert to come up with solutions for is those people who are not currently appointed but are attempting to keep their license active by continuing, keeping up with their continuing education. Historically, Alert and some other providers under their grant funding could not train those people with certain funds because the funds used had to go to appointed peace officers, people actually serving in the role. So we're working through avenues and areas and regional training providers on how we can make that mandatory alert training available to those folks who have trying to keep their license active but are not currently appointed. So, and that's all I have unless you have questions.
We had discussions, I had discussions with staff last week about the interpretation of the 16 hours and whether the chiefs were included in that, because there is a different statute that says that LEMIT satisfies, under most situations, satisfies the chief's training. However, I think it was pretty clear that the legislative intent for that is that the chiefs also receive the 16 hours. So we'll be coming out with some communication directed specifically for the chiefs to follow, but the, correct me if I'm wrong, please, Cullen, the LEMIT course that the chiefs must attend will include 8 hours of alert training, and that the chiefs will have to attend an additional 8 hours outside of the LEMIT training to satisfy the legislative intent of that.
Yes, ma'am. The current continuing education for police chiefs required at LEMIT, LEMIT worked with Alert to produce an 8-hour section of that as eligible alert training. So to meet their 16 hours, a chief who attended that training would only need 8 supplemental hours.
And I do want to recognize LEMIT and Dr. Rita Watkins. They, as soon as this bill was passed, they jumped into action and worked alongside of TCOLE staff to make sure that they could get at least 8 hours into the chief's training. So we appreciate their sense of urgency and their flexibility and adaptability of that course. So wanted to recognize Dr. Watkins as well as you, Colin, for your work with LEMIT on that.
Yes, LEMIT was actually ahead of it. Post-Uvalde, they got 4 hours of alert into the last training unit. And so when the subsequent bill came out, they added to get to the 8. So LEMIT's been there, Johnny on the spot the whole time. So it's good to work with them.
Any questions for Cullen? Okay. So we will move to IT and Special Services. Jessica Caprero.
Good morning, Commissioners. The Special Services team has been quite busy working on supporting the efforts of the conference and the advisory committees, as well as keeping our projects moving forward. One of the, on page 27 of your notebook, there is a report of law enforcement agency composition that was created to support the Advisory Committee on Law Enforcement Standards, law enforcement agency standards. Of note, there are approximately 2,700 law enforcement agencies across the state, 45% of which are 5 or less than 5 licensees in the agency, which was a remarkable or notable data point there. In the last 2 years, we've opened close to 90 agencies. Most of them have been ISDs, 61% of them. And most of those ISDs, 89% of them, have 5 or less licensees in them. So this is kind of a good marker in time to just see what that composition looks like, because I do believe that there are a few influential factors that could reshape or change that in the years to come. Specifically, HB3 has had an influence on the creation of ISDs, and the minimum standards for law enforcement agencies may have an impact too. So we'll see how that data changes over time. With regard to the team, I do want to point out our call abandonment rate has increased. Our rate was 8% for the IT team and 10% for the secure share team. That's higher than our goal. Our goal is 6%. And that is, not the quality that we're looking for, but we are working on getting back on track there. I think a couple things. One, our IT help desk team, which was 4, is now 2 because of changes within the department. So we're working on filling those 2 vacancies, but additionally, the conference support, the advisory committees that are going on right now, and meetings like our workshops and our commission meetings take that team away from the phone. So I think, as we fill those vacancies, that will really help. And I do want to note the kind of built-in overflow there is the secure share team, which has been really helpful in handling those IT calls for us and contributing to the ability to actually answer those questions that are coming in. So I want to recognize them, because the whole team, the IT team and the secure share support team, have been working really hard to stay on top of that and very flexible while maintaining a really positive attitude. We've got some, we still have some vacancies that we're trying to fill that were given to us in the last legislative session. And the ones that I'm focused on right now are the most critical for carrying out some of the implementation from the Sunset Bill. So specifically, we've got the advisory committees are kind of shaping the way some of that technology is going to work. And we're at a point where we can, the specifics of how the mechanics are going to play out are more clear. So we're starting to plan the detailed implementation at this point. And I'm working really hard on getting the people in place to actually carry out the work. speaking of projects, major IT projects that we have going on, I am really excited to announce that our website finally has a launch date, and that is Monday. So later today, we will be sending that announcement out en masse, and again on Monday, we will send it. So I do anticipate some instability in the site in the early part of next week as we switch everything over. And I also anticipate, it's not going to be a perfect product. So we knew that, we planned for that. So we do have access to the vendor that built the site for us post-launch, so that whatever we can't fix on our own, they can help support us fix.
Since, from what I understand, so the new website will be live Monday. Any consideration for doing a soft launch for a week or two until you get through it? Or do you think it's better just to go ahead and bite the bullet and do the announcement?
I think it's better to just move forward with it, yes. Yeah, for something like this, yes.
Okay, so for our constituents that are joining us online and for those of you here today, we've all lived through this. And if you've been in the business long enough, we've lived through it many, many times. So please be patient. Typically, whenever new technology or new website, new platform is introduced, there's always a few hiccups. I don't know of one that's ever been perfect. So please be patient. And we will do our very, very best to make it as seamless as possible. And I know Jessica is amazing, and so is our whole IT team. So we will do our best to get it up and running.
Yes, I'm most excited about the updated look and feel of the site, and I believe we are bringing a site that makes content easier to get to, easier to find, more intuitive. So we're looking forward to getting that project finalized. I'd also like to take this opportunity to remind everyone that the period for reporting your racial profiling numbers is going to start on January 1st, and we will be sending a reminder out to all law enforcement agencies in the next week or two. And that's all I have. Are there any questions?
A question on the vacancies. I know that we're waiting for the information security officer to be hired, and then letting that person bring on some additional positions. But we've worked really hard this past year to get staff pay increased. Is pay a factor in some of the challenges?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Actually, we have made an offer to the information security officer, and if all goes well, he will begin mid-January. And he comes with a wealth of knowledge of state cybersecurity and connections. So hopefully that might broaden our applicant pool. Where we're seeing some of the most significant hurdles is actually in our software engineer team. So we're reevaluating and making the adjustments we can to those postings and those offerings.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Jessica? Okay. We'll move to our enforcement report. TJ?
Good morning, Commissioners. In your packet, you have the one-page report that I've included in the past. I think when I promoted, I referred to this. This is the report that was being used prior to my promotion, and that I referred to it as having very limited value to me, and I expected it did to you as well. I continue to provide those numbers for continuity. But my concern is always that numbers have very limited value or meaning without context. And so I'm excited that with the help of Jessica and her team, we finally passed the first most important step in gathering more meaningful data for our division. We've implemented the Mark 43 records management system. Darla Dixon, who leads our enforcement administrative staff, and Captain Isaac and Captain Skolot have been working very hard. We've trained all of the enforcement division. We're now entering all our reports in that system. We worked hard in the planning and structure of that system to gather a lot of data that we could not pull in the past. In other words, can we connect the results of our investigation to each individual licensee? Can we define the types of complaints that were made and break those down and show the results of each individual complaint? We have much better ways of tracking non-jurisdictional complaints. We can now attach a complaint to a region or a county, which we could not easily do in the past. So there's going to be much more useful data that comes from that system. My expectation is that we'll train the rest of our sworn staff, special services and field services in January, and they will begin entering reports there as well, which will add to that. And our last admin position that was vacant is going to be filled probably within the next 2 weeks, and our expectation is that they will have a new role in reports and data analysis. So my hope is that in 4 to 6 months that I'll have much more meaningful reports for you, and in particular, a much better representation of the expected impact of open cases. So for example, right now, one of the things that my investigators know is to separate major and minor cases, major cases being those where there's a potential loss of license or criminal impact to a case. And so I want to be able to see how many of those cases are in that status now, and if that changes, if a minor case becomes one where there's a license at risk, or if it's open as a major case and they determine that the impact is not that severe, they reclassify it appropriately and we can track those cases in real time. I think that will make it easier for me to keep the entire agency updated on the status of cases, and you as well. We're still working with the vendor on that, and I know that Jessica and I have had conversations, and a data analysis on her side and my new person is that over the next couple months, as we start to generate more and more reports, that we can confirm that there are not any numbers that we need to be able to project long-term analysis that we're failing to collect on the front end. So we have the ability to make those changes within the system ourselves, and we've actually flagged a few places where we are where officers have the ability to enter information on the front end of the report that we are not using, but we're going to make sure that we make those adjustments as soon as possible so that 6 months later we don't realize we were failing to gather information that we're going to need.
But before you move on, Major Vineyard, one that's fantastic to hear. It's something we've been talking about for, I don't know, I feel like a couple years straight, right? About how it's, we want to be data driven, but we didn't have the tools to be able to gather that information and know whether these are any issues that we believe are out there are they anecdotal, or are there trends, and what can we do to kind of head those things off and create initiatives to be successful. I think you've proven to us with your Target 100 initiative that when you all put your minds to something and you have the resources and ability to do it, particularly in the realm of IT, backing that up, then we can be successful. And so I'm very excited, and it's so long overdue that we're to this point. So it's, I'm very happy to hear that we're hopefully a few months away from seeing some of these benefits and hopefully getting to kind of delve deeper into some things. I hope we're surprised by some trends. I hope we're completely wrong on some, and you know, and I don't hope we're wrong, but you know what I mean. I hope if we think that there's some type of problem that we're having, it's really not it. It's just that, you know, that's what has made the most noise or something like that, but that we identify where there are some of these other issues. I just want a little more clarification when you said there's a way for officers to put certain information that we may not currently have fields for to gather that information. Can you expand a little bit more on that and what that information might look like? Yes,
ma'am. And before I do, you brought up a really important point, that that I didn't say specifically in this meeting, and I try to say it every time I talk. Almost all of the problems we see in enforcement are not actually enforcement problems. They become enforcement problems, but a lot of them are communication and education. And that the data will allow us, and Target 100 is the best example of that. We go from having thousands of officers in noncompliance to 14 once we effectively communicate and educate them. And so that's my hope, is that when we identify trends or when we identify groups, that we can back that up with communication and education and resolve the problem. My preference would be that we do that proactively rather than waiting for them to become enforcement problems. The types of data that I'm talking about are not that they don't exist, and in many cases they do. It's just virtually impossible for us to gather them. So it's as simple as breaking things down by region or by county. Right now, there's not a simple way for us to do that. Can we do it backwards by taking a spreadsheet someone has on their computer, generating a list of names and PIDs and giving it to Jessica and having someone on her team create a report that works from that? Whereas now I can do it immediately. I can do it from my desk, and I can create a saved report so I can see it anytime I want to see that. So one of the examples I've talked about in the past is just looking at hotspot maps on E1s. If we have a cluster of DWI arrests in a particular area, I don't think that's an immediate responsibility for TCOLE, but it's data that we can share for someone who could try to proactively address that problem, right? If there's a police association or an agency in that area that could take education, communication efforts that they can, find ways to address that problem, I would much prefer they do that than just continue to deal with a large number of cases coming from one area.
Any other questions or comments for TJ? And Gretchen is in training today, so we will look forward to hearing from her at our next meeting. Brian, the finance report, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to provide an update on our agency financials. You have in your packet the normal financial report, including expenditures and revenue. For our current financial landscape, we're in our second quarter of the fiscal year. With that in mind, I'd like to quickly highlight some of the tasks we've done recently and the projects we're working on. Starting off with HR, of course, you've heard from several of the other reports that the agency is ramping up and capitalizing on increased resources to bring talent to the team and execute on our new responsibilities from the legislature. We have successfully onboarded 7 new employees so far this fiscal year. We have an additional 15 advertised right now, and we have 6 more planned for the near future. Since our last meeting, we've been committed to executing on our contractual duties for school marshal and peer network. We've also done tasks such as renewing our electronic credit card payment coding, which was pretty involved, and I'd like to thank Jessica's team for her help in that as well. There was a lot of work on that. Submission of an agency operating budget report and other pertinent financial reports as well. And we also recently put out a bid request for updates to TCOLE policies. We have actively focused on recruitment and training for new agency personnel, getting people in the door, highly skilled, highly qualified, who would be good fits. Currently, our focus is on executing those legislative changes and spearheading projects for improvement of the agency. Upcoming projects, we have something called a base reconciliation report in April, a strategic plan report in May, and the legislative appropriations request is usually in July or August. With that in mind, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions?
I don't have a question, but before we wrap up, since that's the final report, I do want to point out from Gretchen's report, even though she's not here today, the reminder that applications for the Achievement Awards are accepted through January 15th. And if anyone has, from your agency, has been gone above and beyond the call of duty, please look at submitting their names to TCOLE for consideration for the Achievement Awards, and that is in June 2024. So, make sure we got that information out there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've got it, a lot of great and heroic work happening across the state, and it's our duty and responsibility to recognize these folks. And please understand that while it has to go up through the chief administrator, it does not have to come from the chief administrator. So others can certainly nominate those and put it up through your chain of command, but please take the time to recognize the folks that are out there doing a good job. So, do we have any motions related to the report?
Yeah, make a motion to approve and adopt the reports as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Oops, I'm going into my little spiel. Can you come and take the vote, please?
Commissioner Martina Lamont Dixon,
Yes.
Commissioner Mario Lascano,
Aye.
Commissioner Michael Griffiths,
Aye.
Commissioner Jana Adkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Ron Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Patricia Burris,
Aye.
Commissioner Jason Hester, Commissioner Kim Lamo.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, I want to speak to, I know I talked a little bit before we went into the reports about the introduction of new staff. I know Brian Roth had mentioned that we've had onboarding 7 new employees recently, and I wanted to take the time to introduce them, 2 of those 7 that are here with us. They're legal staff. If Abigail and Jenny, if y'all could raise your hands. We have, thank y'all. We've got Abigail Sunley, who's our newest legal assistant, and Jenny Hilbig, who's our newest assistant general counsel. Both of them came from the Office of the Attorney General. Welcome aboard. Glad to have y'all here. And that's our newest legal staff. And I know we talked about vacancies in some of the other divisions. Legal, through the sunset process, as we all know, was granted some FTEs. We have 2 more positions vacant for attorneys, which we're looking to fill, along with another legal assistant position. So as stated earlier by Brian and Jessica and everyone else who's doing the interviewing and looking for good fits for the agency and people to help us out, the search continues. So just want to let everybody know. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Welcome to the team. We look forward to working with you and getting to know you. So we're going to move to agenda item number 6, which is taking action to enroll and induct officers in the Texas Peace Officers Memorial Monument. TJ?
I'm going to read into the record. These are the names of those who were voted on by the Peace Officers Memorial Ceremony Committee. That group is comprised of elected officials, state agencies, and organizations that include CLEAT, the Combined Law Enforcement Associations of Texas, TMPA, the Texas Municipal Police Association, COPS, the Concerns of Police Survivors, and FOP, the Fraternal Order of Police. So we appreciate their contributions in identifying those who should be memorialized for making the ultimate sacrifice. We have Sheriff Abraham Vega, Lynn County Sheriff's Office, end of watch July 11th, 2020. Officer Leslie L. Graves II, Perryton Police Department, December 3rd, 2020. Detective Camarino Santiago, El Paso Police Department, January 11th, 2021. Correctional Officer Jimmy Garcia, Texas Department of Criminal Justice, April 15th, 2021. Sergeant Jason Donaldson, Caldwell County Sheriff's Office, August 28th, 2021. Deputy Sheriff Ronald Rudy Butler, Bear County Sheriff's Office, September 3rd, 2021. Correctional Officer Glenn Skeens, Texas Department of Criminal Justice, September 7th, 2021. Officer William Howard Gudgel, Tarrant County Sheriff's Department, September 17th, 2021. Senior Deputy Philip David Barron Jr., Victoria County Sheriff's Office, September 24th, 2021. Sergeant Raquel Virginia Saunders, Amarillo Police Department, October 13th, 2021. Investigator Tracy Joe Dotson, Dallas County District Attorney's Office, October 19th, 2021. Officer Scott Harn, Dallas Police Department, November 2nd, 2021. Parole Officer Trainee Taisha Harper, Texas Department of Criminal Justice, November 15th, 2021. Correctional Officer Jay Drennan, Texas Department of Criminal Justice, May 19th, 2022. Sergeant Joshua I. Klaus, Cameron Police Department, May 11th, 2023. Deputy Sheriff David Bosecker, Eastland County Sheriff's Office, July 21st, 2023. Deputy Sheriff Matthew Pearson, Shelby County Sheriff's Office, August 29th, 2023. Motors Officer Darren McMichael, Arlington Police Department, September 21st, 2023. Lieutenant Milton Resendez, San Benito Police Department, October 17th, 2023. Senior Police Officer Jorge Pastor, Austin Police Department, November 11th, 2023. We also have those who have been identified through continued historical research. Those include Constable Lawton Whitsitt, Harris County Constable's Office, Precinct 7, December 18th, 1906. Constable Václav James Sulak, McLennan County Constable's Office, Precinct 3, July 13th, 1908. Deputy Sheriff William Blackwell W.B. Davenport, Jackson County Sheriff's Office, October 8th, 1913. Scott Percy Yolton, Southern Pacific Railroad Police Department, January 6, 1918. Deputy Sheriff Virgil Del Norte Parsley, Liberty County Sheriff's Office, August 24th, 1928. Sheriff John Jefferson Jack Allen, Crane County Sheriff's Office, May 31st, 1929. Border Patrol Inspector Garvis Field Harrell, United States Department of Justice, Immigration and Naturalization Service, United States Border Patrol, April 24th, 1944. Reserve Captain George Leonard Winsheimer, Harris County Constable's Office, Precinct 1, April 29th, 1961. Sheriff Edward Rufus Garner, San Patricio County Sheriff's Office, August 26, 1876. Jailer Cornelius Sweeney, Refugio County Sheriff's Office, December 3rd, 1884. Guard C.B. Foster, Texas Department of Criminal Justice, December 4th, 1894. Deputy Alfred Brown Thornton, Trinity County Sheriff's Office, March 10th, 1874. Deputy City Marshal W.B. Hardiman, Colorado City Police Department, May 28th, 1885. Deputy City Marshal Buck Wright, Luling Police Department, November 18th, 1884. Deputy Sheriff William Augustus Webster, Goliad County Sheriff's Office, September 28th, 1874. Guard Hughes Finley, Wood County Convict Farm, September 6th, 1893. First Lieutenant Robert Carter, Texas Rangers, October 19th, 1861. Private Isaac Heck, Texas Rangers, August 29th, 1848. Private Nathaniel H. Magnum, Texas Rangers, September 5th, 1848. Posse member George W. Swank, Nueces County Sheriff's Office, March 26, 1875. Private Thomas G. Birdwell, Texas Rangers, February 16th, 1863. Private Erastus Oceation Blue, Texas Rangers, October 13th, 1864. Sergeant Jonathan Jackson Sim Jones, Texas Rangers, August 13th, 1864. Private Robert Nethery, Texas Rangers, October 13th, 1864. Private Isaac Henry Snodgrass, Texas Rangers, October 13th, 1864. And Private Jesse G. Walker, Texas Rangers, October 13th, 1864.
Thank you. Before taking any motions, I'd like to again ask for a moment of silence in honor of these heroes. Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to enroll and induct the officers as read into the record into the Texas Peace Officers Memorial Monument.
We have a motion and we have a second.
Thank you, TJ. Commissioner Martina Lamont Dixon,
Aye.
Commissioner Mario Lascano,
Aye.
Commissioner Michael Griffiths,
Aye.
Commissioner Jana Atkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Ron Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Patricia Burris,
Aye.
Commissioner Jason Hester, Commissioner Kim Lamo.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay. And ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a short break and we'll resume in about 10 minutes. And it is 10:43, and I'm showing us back in session. And Jessica, I understand that you would like to introduce someone.
Thank you. Yes, I did fail to introduce a new staff member to the Special Services team. We have Jim Malloy is our new school marshal sergeant. He will be working with the school marshal training providers. So welcome, Jim.
Well, welcome. I think we've known each other for, I'm going to date us both here, 30 plus years. So welcome to the team. I know you'll be a great addition. So thank you, Jim. Okay, we're going to move to agenda item number 7, which is to discuss and take action on the advisory committees. So John, I will turn it over to you to tell us about the great work that the advisory committees are doing. And before you do that, though, I'm going to once again recognize the fact that we had a lot of people, we had a lot of interest in the advisory committees. We had a lot of applications, and I want to thank everyone who did submit an application. Unfortunately, we couldn't select everyone, but I do want to thank those that are serving on the committees. This is a volunteer. They all hold full-time jobs, but this is just such important work that is going to shape law enforcement in Texas for decades to come. So I want to recognize them again for their service on the advisory committee. So John.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners, and to echo your remarks, Madam Chair, without the dedication and professionalism and the time spent, again, all volunteer towards the efforts of these advisory committees, the work that the legislature has requested that we do would not get done. So again, I want to thank everyone who's participating in these, going all over the state, coming to Austin, wherever the case is or wherever the meetings are. We certainly appreciate all of their efforts. And on that note, I'll start with the Misconduct Investigation and Hiring Procedures Committee. And for the benefit of everyone who may be on the live stream or in the audience, or who's kind of learning about the advisory committees for the first time, I'll give a brief overview of those, talk about where the next meeting is going to be, and kind of ultimately where all this is headed. The Misconduct and Investigation and Hiring Procedures Committee, that's chaired by Chief Stan Standridge and Chief Jessica Anderson. It's charged with establishing procedures for a model policy related to the investigation of alleged misconduct by license holders, and also the establishment and the contents of personnel files made with respect to those license holders. We met just this week on Monday, and Austin was the latest meeting for the advisory committee. Obviously, they were all started in earnest a few months ago, and the next meeting for this committee will be on January 10th, and that will be in Austin. They will be in Austin, and they're moving rapidly ahead with their work product, as all these committees are, and looking forward to the March 1st of 2024 deadline, as stated by the Sunset Bill. So the Misconduct Committee that's their next meeting, their scope and purpose, and where they are with respect to their work product. And again, everyone is working towards that March 1st, 2024 deadline. As we discussed yesterday in the workshop, the commissioners will have a late February commission meeting to accommodate the deadlines in order to meet the goal of March 1st, 2024. The next subcommittee is the minimum standards for law enforcement agencies. This is chaired by Sheriff Roy Boyd. The assistant presiding officer is Chief Jaime Ayala. Sheriff Boyd and Chief Ayala, we met here recently with that one. It was in Alvin. It was a video conference partial meeting, but it was stationed in Alvin, and Sheriff Boyd has made it as very, very intentional about moving their meetings around the state. And on that note, they will be meeting December 19th in Amarillo. And the purpose of that subcommittee is to make a rule for consideration by the commissioners for the creation or continuing operation of a law enforcement agency based on the criteria set forth in the Occupations Code as amended under the Sunset Bill. So again, they'll be meeting the next time on February 19th in Amarillo. Again, as with the Misconduct Committee, their work product is moving along in looking forward to the March 1st, 2024 deadline. The examination of a licensee subcommittee, or committee, excuse me, is chaired by Constable Sean Kennington, and the assistant presiding officer is Chief Mike Harmon. The purpose of this subcommittee is to establish procedures and standards regarding the medical and psychological examination of licensees, new licensees, and those who an employing agency has reason to believe that a new examination is necessary. Their last meeting was Tuesday in Austin, and their next meeting will be on January 11th, again in Austin. Again, they're moving towards coming up this model policy, and their work product is proceeding apace, and they look forward to presenting, as all the committees do, to the commissioners in late February what they have done for your all review. I look forward to any questions anyone may have on any of the advisory committees.
Any questions or comments? Well, I know I thanked the, oh, go ahead.
John, just from your perspective, obviously we don't have the committees here, or the heads of the committees here to speak, but does their work seem to be on pace with the deadlines? Do you find kind of overall that there's been kind of thorough and fruitful discussion given the various groups, right? I mean, they represent every kind of interest out there in every part of the state. How do you feel those committees' discussions have been going, and then the product that they're creating to present to the commission, and then how does that look with the deadlines?
No, that's a great question, Commissioner Burris, and it's been a great experience. I can speak personally for myself, from the personal side of it, is getting to work with a wide range. You're talking about 11, 12, 13 member committees consisting of members from the public, consisting of members across the range of the various constituencies in the regulated community. And it's been a great opportunity to get all of those perspectives in the room at the same time. And to your point about the work product, it's somewhat amazing how all of those different voices, opinions, and viewpoints can come together and begin producing a work product that's in and of itself is remarkable. But when you also put in the timeline and the constraints that are put on to where the statute is, I think it's even more remarkable that they've had the work product and it's proceeding at the pace that it is. And again, I think it was important, and certainly the presiding officer was talking about earlier about who is on these committees and all the viewpoints on it. I think that is very important, for the transparency of the process and also the legitimacy of the process. And I think those two go hand in hand. And as far as staff, from staff's perspective, and I don't want to speak for the committees, but I think from their perspective, I think the results so far are a little bit beyond what we could have expected. So, and certainly both the work product and where it's at on the timeline, I think they're all in good shape, and I look forward to the product they bring to you all in February.
Any other questions or comments? I think it's another opportunity to also recognize staff, because it's not just the committees that are doing the work. There is staff, TCOLE staff assigned to each of the advisory committees, and they are working very, very closely with the committees, being a resource and also assisting them. So appreciate all the time that you all have put into that process, and I know we all look forward to seeing what what is produced. So I don't believe that we have, or that there's a necessity for a motion coming out of this agenda item, so we will move to agenda item number 8, which is to discuss and take action on a request for a Class B waiver of TCOLE Rule 217.1, minimum standards for enrollment and initial licensure. I have cards filled out for Troy Guidry and Jason Stanfield. If you are here, I'd like to ask that you both come forward and that you state your name and your position or capacity in this.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sheriff Troy Guidry, Waller County Sheriff's Office.
Jason Stanfield, Waller County Sheriff's Office.
Okay. Sheriff, would you like to tell us, I'm sorry, let me go ahead and refer over to John first to give us a little bit of background. And Sheriff, I'm going to ask you to give your perspective about the request. And then, sir, I will ask you to also provide us with some comments and potentially answer any questions that the commission has.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, the pertinent facts in this case for your consideration are the waiver request is for a reckless driving disposition in California. It's been determined that's been equivalent to a Texas Class B misdemeanor. So the initial disqualification period would be for 10 years. The date of disposition was in September of 2018. However, under the rules, the opportunity for a waiver after 5 years exists. That disposition, again, was in September of 2018. It was a conviction, and there were 3 years of probation. Again, this was a reckless driving disposition. As far as the licensure goes, Mr. Stanfield had disclosed the disposition on the personal history statement. What's unusual about this case is not the actual disposition. Normally when these type of things come up on either a CCH or as it's transmitted to a appointing agency, oftentimes the confusion is the disposition. If it were a deferred adjudication or something equivalent to out of state like we have here, a lot of time the confusion is because it says dismissed. That wasn't the case here. This is something to my memory, that we have not had before us, but we see it certainly at the staff level when we get requests from agencies asking to interpret out-of-state post-disposition remedies. In this case, we had a California expunction, and that's what it says on the order. It's an expunction. However, the California expunction is more equivalent to a Texas motion for nondisclosure. Ultimately, it's not the equivalent of a Texas expunction, which we all know removes an arrest from someone's record, and it can't be referred to only in extremely limited circumstances. So when I was looking at this case, I would just tell you it was confusion on the part of those reading it because it said expunction on the face of the record, which can be confusing without knowing the exact mechanics of what the California procedure was. So that's where, again, this was disclosed on the PHS. It was reviewed at the agency level. But again, from my looking at the record, both the investigation initially and where it's at today, that there was confusion about the equivalency of I think the ultimate result was the error was equivocating a California expunction with those one in Texas.
Sheriff?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Stanfield came to work for us, I would say approximately 2 years ago, and started off as a jailer status, went through the whole jail process because the background check it wasn't confirmed either way. We put him through the jail school in-house. He passed the class flying colors. He showed a very strong work ethic throughout. Once TCOLE, he attempted to go into, I think it was a U of H for a academy class, and that's when this came out to the surface. Excellent employee up until then. We called him in, we had to take him off, put his jailer status on hold. Had every opportunity to leave and chase the money in the oil field where he came from. He's chose to stick it out, stay working for us. He's taking a civilian job inside the jail as a cook, and took himself out of the jailer status, and that's on hold, and now we're looking to let him go back through an academy and get him a police officer. He has dreams of following his mother's footsteps, and I wouldn't even ask this if his employment with us didn't show a very strong work ethic. I took over this in 2021 in Waller County. We have two that have had a waiver back years ago. Both of them are excellent employees. So as far as Jason goes, Mr. Stanfield, we've pushed the limit with him a little bit, really trying to just run him off, and he hadn't bit yet. He really wants to stay there and become a police officer. And all of you know here on this board that it's hard to find good, solid police officers at this point in today's world. We're dealing with it. Luckily, with our agency, I can tell you that everything y'all have done in the last 2 years as a TCOLE board has helped us kind of eliminate the problem children that are coming into the law enforcement game at this point. We're just requesting and appreciate the option to even come in here and talk to y'all to try and get this young man a career in law enforcement.
Good evening. Thank y'all for having me. I do take full responsibility of the action. I was in the Navy for 5 years. I was about to get out. Actually September I was getting out. Did my 5-year term. Got the ticket or the Class B misdemeanor. I came home. My dream was to go to college, get my criminal justice degree with minor in Homeland Security. Went to Sam Houston. I've got about 1 semester left until I'll have my full degree. And so ever since, the whole situation happened, as much as I wanted to quit, and give up, I didn't. I kept pushing through, seeing to do whatever I can to get, it expunged, which, in California, I thought it was going to be expunged. So when I got the piece of paperwork, did the probation, all of that, and they said that it was expunged, I'm like, okay, well, we're on the right track. And then went through the jail school, all of that, passed it, which TCOLE, I passed through TCOLE, got my license and everything. And then it's like when the sheriff said I went to apply at U of H to go to the police academy. And then I think I was working with Kayla Manders. And that's when it all arose that I guess, it was a Class B. And so that stopped that until we talked a little bit back and forth. And I had to wait for 5 years until I can come to here where I am today to come to the board for the meeting. So I appreciate y'all having me.
From the commissioners, do we have any comments or questions?
Well, thank you for coming and making your presentation here to us and putting this packet together. A couple of things, one directed to each of you. First off, Sheriff, what have you learned from this experience, and what are you implementing within your department to try to stave off another incident like this?
I think what we learned in this instance with what we found on the background, and y'all have made the background check really a lengthy thing, and it's actually bringing more of this out to the open so that we could even address it before hire, is us going through the hiring process with him, making him the jailer, and putting the time into him. had we come across this in the first place, he'd never had the opportunity to even step in our doors as a jailer. It would be a civilian position only. In seeing how this played out, I would say that for our agency, our background investigator, we have one of them. He's setting some standards on really following what TCOLE comes to say and what to address. It's helped us. Just this coming to light's helped us learn how TCOLE handles their side of it. So I would say it's really a good thing that this even surfaced up. If not, he could have went through an academy and went through all the school and showed up in a career 5 years later, and TCOLE slapped him with this and probably could have taken him out of a career. So.
Well, I'm glad to hear. And our report and our investigator from the documents we've received and reviewed did show there was like no malicious intent by anyone. It's just that challenge in reading a different state's laws versus ours and how they compare. And let me tell you, that is a very challenging thing to do. I do it as a career for a living, and that's always the most challenging thing is kind of when you try to compare these things to our system and how that works and yeah, the nuances there, and then from the other side, with Mr. Stanfield, I don't know how many more commissioners are going to speak up here today. It didn't seem like there was going to be a lot of discussion, and I wanted to relay to you that a lot of times the reason for us not having a lot of discussion is, you know, we received your nearly 100-page packet. It's in our documents that we review, and it's very thorough. And so oftentimes by the time we come here, sometimes we have some follow-up questions or things that we'd like to discuss further. But a lot of times, if you've really put a good report together, as you seem to have done here, it's a lot easier for us to make a decision. So staving that off, although I see another commissioner is going to want to speak on the screen here shortly. Again, from my perspective, it seems you did disclose the incident where it needed to be disclosed. There was, for our benefit, a highlight of the one question asked where it wasn't disclosed, but then it later was. And the way I understand the Texas expunctions as well, you're told, and in your packet, it's well documented that our investigator went back and spoke to the attorneys that worked on your case, and they said that you don't have to disclose this. It's considered expunged, but you did come forward and answered the pertinent question the way it was asked and disclosed it. And so, so thank you for doing that. And the fact that you did that absolutely, for me, gave me a clear indication of your character, and that this isn't something you were trying to hide from anyone. Everyone was aware of it, and that you completed everything that you were asked to complete, went above and beyond trying to get that California expunction, which Texas, we always do things just a little different. And so exactly like Interim Director Beecham stated, in Texas, we don't just have expunctions, we also have these motions for non-disclosure, and that parallel explains how that can be interpreted a little differently. Also, sometimes in Texas, just share for your edification, at times, if the lawyer doing the expunction doesn't submit the documentation to all the agencies where it needs to go, it can still pop up and come back, and now it's an issue. So just be aware, even with a Texas expunction, you always have to really look closely. The attorney can possibly have left out an agency that would have had contact, or the agency failed to go in and actually expunge the record. So it's complicated. It's a system where there's a lot of opportunity for missteps and errors. So just keep that in mind going forward. But thank you for your time.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question?
Martina.
Martina?
Yes, I'm Martina Lamont Dixon. Mr. Stanfield, thank you for coming before us. My view of you is behind you, so that's totally fine. But I also appreciate the thorough packet that we received. My question, is really along the lines of, since this didn't happen that long ago, yes, you did all of the steps, but what did you learn personally from this experience? I would just like to hear that directly from you, from this incident that you were a part of and the things that you've done to rectify it. Like, have there been changes in your life to make sure something like that doesn't happen again?
Yes, ma'am. I definitely learned from it. I would say probably at the exact time, that's for sure. I've, like I said, I stated out, as soon as I got out of the military, I used the VA benefits to go, or the GI Bill to go straight to college. I did a little college while I was in the military. I had a very exceptional career while I was in the military, no problems. Had an RE1, which is like, it's an honorable discharge. After that, I have recently, got out, started working while going to college and all of that, and then here recently I just started my own dumpster business, and so I run my own business and work for the sheriff here, and so try to do everything I can to make myself a better person, I guess, after the fact.
Okay, well, and I appreciate that, so thank you. And also, I just want to also note at this time to thank you for your service as well.
Thank you, ma'am.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
Ron?
Commissioner Dixon covered my points.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Madam Chair, I'd just like to re-extend the invitation, Sheriff, obviously you and everyone out in the regulated community. If there ever comes a question up, particularly out-of-state procedural questions, we field these all the time, and we're glad to fulfill them, and we'll take a look at them. And as Commissioner Burris said, sometimes they're very difficult. Commonly, we'll see California a lot, we'll see Oklahoma a lot, Louisiana, so those are pretty common ones. So that's what we're there for. Send it to us, and we're always glad to take a look. So just want to let everybody know that that's listening online right now, and just so we have that out there.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to grant the request for Class B waiver of Waller County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Troy Goodry, on behalf of Jason M. Stanfield.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and 2 seconds. And gentlemen, if you will share the mic, we're going to go ahead and take a vote.
Commissioner Martina Lamont Dixon,
Aye.
Commissioner Mario Liscano,
Aye.
Commissioner Michael Griffiths,
Aye.
Commissioner Janet Atkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Ron Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Patricia Burris,
Aye.
Commissioner Jason Hester, Commissioner Kim Lamo.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Well, Officer Stanfield, congratulations. Your waiver has been granted. Sheriff, congratulations on getting Jason back and being able to put him to work where you need to. Can't reiterate John's comments strongly enough. If you do have a question, oftentimes the selection process is a very complicated one, especially dealing with out-of-state. The TCOLE staff, they don't have the answer, they will research it and make sure that you get the answer. But congratulations to you both, and thank you very much for taking the time to be here.
Thank you.
Okay. We are going to move to agenda item number 9, which is to discuss and take action on the proceedings for revocation, suspension, and other disciplinary actions. I'll turn that over to Aaron Heath.
Good morning, Commissioners. Aaron Heath, Assistant General Counsel, presenting the disciplinary actions. First, we're going to start with the default suspension orders. These are petitions that were sent to the appropriate address and were not responded to in a timely manner by the following licensees. We have a Cleavon D. Buxton, driving while intoxicated, and we're recommending a 10-year suspension. Jacob A. Estrada, driving while intoxicated, and we're recommending a 10-year suspension. Terrence J. Gardner, assault causes bodily injury, and we're recommending a 10-year suspension. Elizabeth C. Hepner, driving while intoxicated, and recommending a 10-year suspension. Michael S. Keel, obstruction of a highway, and we're recommending a 10-year suspension. Tamanta B. Lewis, driving while intoxicated with a BAC over .15, we're recommending a 10-year suspension. And Matthew Martinez, driving while intoxicated with a BAC over .15, and we're recommending a 10-year suspension. These default suspension orders are for your consideration.
Any questions? Any questions?
No.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to accept and adopt the default suspension orders for Cleavon D. Buxton through Matthew Martinez as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Sarah?
Commissioner Martina Lamont Dixon,
Aye.
Commissioner Mario Lozano. Commissioner Michael Griffiths,
Aye.
Commissioner Jana Atkins,
Aye.
Commissioner Ron Hood,
Yes.
Commissioner Patricia Burris,
Aye.
Commissioner Jason Hester, Commissioner Kim Lamone.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have a proposal for decision issued by the State Office of Administrative Hearings for a Jason A. McConnell. Respondent was convicted or placed on community supervision for interfering with an emergency call, a Class A misdemeanor. The executive director determined that this was an offense involving family violence and sought revocation. Respondent requested a SOA hearing, and a motion for summary disposition was filed, which SOA granted, and then SOA issued a proposal for decision finding that respondent committed an offense involving family violence and recommended revocation. The executive director recommends acceptance of this proposal for decision, and this is for your consideration.
Okay. I have a comment card here for Jason McConnell. Okay. Mr. McConnell, if you'd like to come up and state your name, and you are welcome to provide any you're welcome to provide any statements or thoughts that you might have.
First off, good morning, and I appreciate y'all allowing me to speak, and sorry for all the chaos taking place in the back of the room. Kids, gotta love them. First off, I know you've read everything, you've seen the reports, you've seen the evidence, you've seen everything. If I could sit here all day and explain to you why I feel in this case I was actually the victim of family violence, I would. But I know that your time is special, and we don't have time for that. But since this taken place, I have worked hard to not only get back on my feet, because I have always wanted to be a police officer. I have fought for this for almost, gosh, this happened back in 2015. Here we are, 2023, and I'm still fighting.
okay? I felt like I was born to be a police officer. It was my passion. It takes a very special person to do that. And as that Sheriff Guidry said, it's hard to find people, good people, to want to be police officers. You have one standing in front. I did the job with integrity. I showed up to work every day, and I was done. I did everything I was asked to do, and that was honor the badge. And today I still do. I still support my colleagues that are still, you know, out there in the field doing what they do best. I have since remarried, and I now have a 2-year-old son back there. I have a 4-year-old, and I also have a 10-year-old that, you know, these are my life. And they want to grow up seeing me do what I love doing, and that's be a police officer. Because these two, they're fascinated with police and fire department and all that. So anyways, I just ask that you know, reconsider your decision. Either way, no matter what it is, I still respect it at the end of the day. I would love to go back into law enforcement. I do have a current job that I just accepted a promotion at 2 weeks ago. So either way, I still respect your decision no matter what. So I guess that's really all I have to say, and I appreciate your time.
Aaron, do you have any additional comments?
Yes. So the rule is quite clear that an offense involving family violence requires revocation, and there's no mitigating or rehabilitative evidence that you can use to overcome that revocation. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any questions or comments from the commissioners? Commissioner Burrs.
Just a comment to make, Mr. McConnell. As you stated, we have a very thorough record here of the proceedings beginning to end, the trials, transcripts, all of that. It's very thorough, and that also includes, you know, mitigating evidence as you presented in your statement to us, that included that you've really done a lot of work to change your life, to have a better relationship and better relationships going forward, and all of that. And I think, unfortunately for you, the rule is very clear, as stated by our legal counsel. Again, you exhausted every remedy, and I know this is the last ditch effort for you coming before us. So thank you for coming before us. As our counsel stated, we don't have room for mitigation in that form to change a decision that would be made here today. And I can only speak for myself and my vote going forward, but for me, the law is very clear, the rules are very clear, and unfortunately, that's what the result has to be from my perspective. So we wish you all the best going forward, and hope you find something that you're passionate about in the same way, and can dedicate your life to that in addition to your family.
Commissioners, any other questions or comments? Okay. Does anyone wish to make a motion?
Make a motion to accept and adopt the proposal for decision revoking the peace officer and jailer licenses for Jason A. McConnell.
Second.
We have a motion and 2 seconds. Sarah, would you please do a roll call vote?
Commissioner Martina Lamont Dixon.
Aye.
Commissioner Mario Lascano.
Aye.
Commissioner Michael Griffiths.
Aye.
Commissioner Jana Adkins.
Aye.
Commissioner Ron Hood.
Yes.
Commissioner Patricia Burris.
Aye.
Commissioner Jason Hester. Commissioner Kim Lamont.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Mr. McConnell, we do appreciate you coming before us today. I'm sorry it did not go the way I'm sure that you would have liked it to go, but the executive director's decision stands, and we all wish you the very, very best of luck. We appreciate the fact that you want to serve your community, and I hope that you can find a calling to do that just in another way. So best of luck to you and your family, sir. Aaron?
Yes, and at last we have the for your information only section. We had 10 permanent surrenders, and then there were 7 reprimands for failing to complete the legislatively required continuing education. That concludes the disciplinary action section. Available if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There's no need to move on to agenda item number 10, which was to discuss and take action on the selection of the next executive director. We have already done that. At this time, we'll go to agenda item number 11, which is to receive public comment on any topic. Please know that the commissioners cannot take any action if you would like to come up and speak. Okay. Agenda item number 12 is executive session, and we will not be going into executive session, so that nullifies 12 and 13. We'll move to agenda item number 14, which is adjournment. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a motion and a second. Before we vote on that and I'll rush to the door, I know on behalf of the TCOLE staff and all of the commissioners, we wish you a very safe and happy holiday season, and best of luck in 2024. For those of you that are here and those of you watching online, we should have the at least the first half of the 2024 meetings posted soon on the website, so please check back for that. So if you will do a roll call vote for us, Sarah.
Commissioner Martina Lamont-Dixon.
Aye.
Commissioner Mario Liscano.
Aye.
Commissioner Michael Griffiths.
Aye.
Commissioner Jana Adkins.
Aye.
Commissioner Ron Hood.
Yes.
Commissioner Patricia Burris.
Aye.
Commissioner Jason Hester. Commissioner Kim Lamont.
Aye.
Motion passes.
So we are officially adjourned. Thank you.